Trey really did. He didn't do like crazy, right? Because he's not a superstar. He's not an all-star, right? He was he hadn't played really at all many seasons, and we finally just kind of throw him out there, right? But I'll go ahead and let me go ahead and show the good old box score real quick, just so I can show y'all the stats, right?
Yeah.
But Trey went out there, 13 solid minutes, and got us 3 for 4 shooting, 1 for 2 for three, 2 boards, and 2 assists with 9 points. Like it, it's not like we asked him to go out there and be crazy, but he still went out there, played what he could, and figured out the opportunities that he could see. The only basket that, like, the one basket that he didn't make was the one basket where he just had poor positioning. He was like, his back was under the rim, and it just didn't look like a pretty shot at all. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, like Trey was out there.
I
He
think
was
he
in the
got
right
fouled on
position.
that shot too, right?
I think so, maybe.
Yeah, he got
But either way, like I mean, the only things that, like, there wasn't really much that Trey in the limited time that he got, and he said it too after the game that he felt like that he showed a solid performance, and I think he did. I think he really showed me, at least, that we can definitely replace Rudy. Not to say that we want to replace Rudy, but we could definitely replace Rudy with him next year. And I think maybe that's what our team's waiting for. Maybe that's what we're like, all right, Trey, we're just gonna kind of wait until Rudy walks,
Yeah,
and
because
then
I mean,
give
we re-signed him, so it's not like, you know what I mean. Like we like what he brings, and they probably have a plan for him in the future.
exactly. And
Yeah.
and like
What
when
was
I
his
think
deal? Do y'all
about
know
it,
what his deal was?
What do you mean?
I can
Oh,
I can tell you right now.
yeah.
No.
Go ahead, Jake.
Um,
But
and
yeah,
so
I agree. I agree, Jake. He did have a pretty he did do a good job of finding those opportunities. I just want him to get more and I know what you said, you know, he's not an all-star, so it's not like you're expecting him to show out offensively, but I have seen him, you know, just be in better rhythm, I guess. So I just want, you know, I'm like, all right, man, I want you to have time in the gym to go find your shooting stroke and everything like that.
Yeah,
Like,
and those 13 minutes were like late too. Those were like meaningful minutes. 13 meaningful minutes. You know what I
and
mean? Like
and
they
I
were
feel
good
like,
minutes.
yeah, I feel like I think because of Trey's size and his speed, it's so versatile because, like, he I'd like to say he's probably a little bit faster than Rudy. At least that's like what it looks like. I feel like Rudy can be a little bit quicker at times, right? But
yeah.
I feel like he's a little bit faster than Rudy, a little bit bigger, but Rudy is just a vet. He just has that vet presence and is a little bit of an enforcer on the defensive end. And so I'd honestly say that their overall like talent, their overall impact is kind of the same, but it's just on different aspects of the game on both sides. So it's like, pick your poison. And right now, what we're choosing is to go with the vet. That Rudy has been a little on and off, but for the most part, I'd like to say that he's been a solid little positive on our bench this year.
Hmm.
And I feel like the second Rudy walks, or I don't I mean we haven't really talked about, we've only really talked about, like, trading like DeMar and LaMarcus, but I guess, like, if some team says that they want to give us like a late first rounder for Rudy Gay, like, would y'all be opposed to that at the
I
trade
Mm,
don't know.
deadline?
I mean,
At the trade deadline?
I'll be honest. I kind of feel like the Spurs. I don't know if I would say my first reaction doesn't come necessarily from me, but I feel like the organization is, like you said, okay with riding with the vet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
um. Uh. And also, like, you know, you're talking about how, like, Rudy kind of demands a little bit more of the ball in his hands to get in terms of getting to his spots. He doesn't necessarily get right to his spots when he doesn't have the ball. You know what I mean? Uh, um. So I'm thinking in my head, like, the same way that Trey is a more of an off-ball guy, it kind of fits more in line of, like, all right, we keep Rudy. Rudy can command some of that attention in terms of the offensive responsibility on the second unit. And then next year, as we're giving more bench responsibility to guys like Derek White and Lonnie Walker, we plug in a guy who doesn't need so much of those responsibilities, which is Trey Lyles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of how I would see it. So I would be okay with riding with Patty and Rudy like the whole rest of this year.
No, yeah, and that was
At
just
least
like
that's my initial take. Now, like you said, if somebody comes up and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna give you like so and so who's also pretty good and like a good, a second rounder or two or whatever," then things might change, I guess. But
and I mean, I guess in reality that would, like you said, like the Spurs organization wouldn't say yes to that because I feel like we are a little bit more like uh
conservative with that kind of stuff.
yeah, I feel like we want to make sure our players are happy, kind of thing. Like if we just traded Rudy, I feel like maybe that might cause some disruption
Yeah.
in the team and stuff like that.
And not even from a I don't want to lose the locker room, but you're trying to build consistency, you're trying to
Yeah,
build continuity, and we've talked about it before this year, like and when we were talking preseason stuff at the beginning of like how we think that continuity is going to play a big factor in terms of who is successful this year. So I think it would be shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit if we got rid of some of that, especially like mid-season.
no, yeah, for sure, for sure. But it was all that just to kind of say that I think Trey definitely showed like the position that he can be in next year, the spot that he'll fit right in, and I've always liked what I saw from him last year because he didn't need the ball in his hands. He played off ball. He's solid, and I think that's something that like this team desperately needs is somebody who can shoot, like who can be able to be solid on offense without needing the ball in their hands.
Yeah, and
That's why.
and that's why I want him to get into his rhythm though, because it sucks when you do see him out there, and then every now and then a play gets not drawn up, but a play falls in his lap, right where the swing comes and it comes right to him. It's like, all right, this is the shot. Like in the flow of the offense, when you are in there, like this is what you're looking for, and then like he misses, you're like, dang. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, okay,
No, yeah, for sure.
we'll see. We'll see when the next shot comes around. Who knows? Because they don't come around very often. You know what I mean? So, I want him to be successful. All right. Well, what about Eubanks? He stepped in. Jake, if you want to pull up some of his, I don't know what his his stat line's officially going to look like from the Houston game, but energy plays, man. He was there
Yeah,
was
that guy
no
was there.
there was no shortage on him helping us provide defense, provide energy, provide a couple good sparks when he was on the court.
Yeah, I'll hit y'all with the stat lines real quick on both these games because he played in Minnesota as well, and he didn't do bad in the 8 minutes that we gave him. He just had to kind of fill in that backup role. Obviously, you see that Jakob played 34 that game, so
Yeah,
he had to
no,
pick
good
it up a
lord.
lot.
Yeah.
But he's had a solid 2 for 3 on with 3 boards, like and a block, right? So that's not like, I mean, you can't ask anything more
On
on
eight
Drew,
minutes, you know.
yeah, 8 minutes, and it's like one of his first games back. I think, was this his first game back, or he might have just gotten like little garbage time minutes here and there in a couple games, but like, this was a game where he had a bit of a prominent role, right?
Yeah.
And then he came in against Houston and balled out. He had 12 points, 3 boards, 3 blocks. Like he was doing good. 4 for 4 on the free throw line. I can't ask any more from a big man.
Yeah,
Making your free throws.
and I think two of those blocks were like back to back too, or like
Yeah,
within the span of a couple,
Yeah.
possessions.
exactly. And
Yeah,
obviously I don't think he got fourth quarter minutes if I can remember. Um but still, like, I mean, he did what he could in the 16 minutes that we gave him. He shot 4 for 6 from the field. He did the right stuff and put himself in the right positions. And I know y'all talk about him being an energy player. For me, like I like seeing the energy plays, but I'm not exactly happy seeing Drew Eubanks shoot like an out of the paint shot. And that's the only, like, those are the only things that, like, I want you to get your opportunities, man, but you also like slow your roll sometimes. Like, come on. We're not asking you to be LaMarcus. We're asking you to just kind of, like you said, be an energy guy,
yeah,
um
but
do the
also
right
like
things.
let me give a little bit more of like the other side of that
You
coin
got to
is
keep
like
them honest, man.
Yeah,
Keep the defense
exactly.
honest. You
When you
have
got a
to.
guy, when you got it, like Eubanks, him playing more minutes tonight, it probably took Pirtle's minutes down a little bit, right? Yeah, 29
Yeah,
minutes
29.
for Jakob. So he's kind of in there, trying to be as best as we can, like almost like a backup five at times, right? But if Jakob gets the ball, the defense knows that he's probably not going to be taking no middies or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I
Except for
agree.
that
Like
one top of the key shot that he
yeah.
freaking wet the
So
last week.
See,
so
he's capable,
like
dog.
you do have to do some of those. And Eubanks, his what I do like about him and what I'll try to give him some credit for is I feel like he sticks within his wheelhouse. Like you're not going to see him try to break anybody off the dribble to get a shot, but if he feels like he has that little floater in the paint, he'll take it. You know what I mean? If he
Mhm.
feels like he's got somebody to put on his back, he'll try to get some space. So like I'm okay. I don't know. I'm okay with those because I just feel
Yeah,
like in
and
the
it's kind
go
of
ahead.
nice seeing somebody be aggressive like that, other than Lamarcus as our
E-
big man, because Jakob doesn't at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he
Like
he scored 19 the other night, but those were just like hustle plays. They were given, the right pass, and he's just dunking. Like it's nice to see him be aggressive. You know what I mean?
and
And
actually,
I wish
Yak did
Jakob
that
would
tonight,
do
or
that.
sorry, last night. Yak did that a couple times. I think he even had a John Wall on him a couple times, and Sean Elliott was like, "Yeah, I like that." He like John Wall didn't even expect him to go aggressive against him, and he
Yeah,
did. You know what I mean? So like, I was happy to see that. But yeah, I agree. I think Eubanks finds a pretty decent balance. I do know what you're saying. There's a couple times where like he'll miss maybe like two of those hooks in a row, and then he takes like a third one, and you're like, all right, man, I don't know if I'm going to be giving you these hooks anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I know what you mean. But I enjoy I enjoy his ability to try to go and relieve some of that pressure. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that again, like sometimes that shot is the product of like Derek White breaking a defense down or something like that. And if
No,
that's the
yeah.
if that's the case, you got to take that shot. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Like, I mean, I give him the respect. Like, I mean, I honestly, it's really good that we have him at that 12-13 man in the rotation, because there are these nights, we don't have LaMarcus, we didn't have Lonnie this game, and so we kind of needed our 11-12 guys to kind of take those steps up, because I mean, who else is going to, right? Like,
Yeah.
they have to, and so knowing that we have Eubanks to be able to come off the bench and be like, all right, we know, like for him, he knows that his number is not going to be called all the time, but when his number does get called, he's gonna be ready to step up to the plate and provide whatever he can. And I think um I do think that I like that energy and overall tenacity that he brings, the aggressiveness that he brings to the table a whole lot more now than I did like before. I used to see him get on the court and I'd be like, who the heck is this guy? Like,
Yeah, I was the same way, man. And I'll I speak a little bit sternly or critically of like of some players sometimes, and Drew was definitely on that list. I will say that maybe even like a little bit prior to the bubble, like you see his energy all the time, but yeah, like it's just one of those things like back when we used to have like Jacques Laverne and stuff like that. Like in my opinion, it's like I like to see
God, that guy.
value. I like to see value even in the 14th and the 15th spot. Like in my opinion, it's like I don't want to see prospects or I don't want to see projects. I want to see somebody who
Luca.
can get somebody that can give you 5 to 6 minutes with the expectation that you're going to put them in for 2 to 3 minutes. Like that's where my head is when it comes to
mm-hmm.
those people that are deep down in the bench. And maybe that's because I grew up knowing the Spurs roster was pretty solid, like 1 through 7 or something. Maybe that's why it's like I could rely on those guys. And I was you start to look at what can you do as a 14th man to help Tim Duncan. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's where my origin of that kind of thought process comes from. So like, yeah, I'm
And
the same way. Like, when you see Drew come in at garbage time, you were like, I want to see more fundamentally sound things happening from this guy. But it's definitely come along over the past couple of years, and yeah, he came and earned his spot and earned his playing minutes when he went to the bubble. Like
Mhm.
everything he did was good.
and just to kind of like be on the other side of the perspective, because I've always felt like, for me, those 14, 15, maybe 13, but I've always liked at least having like 10 to 12 be like solid overall, right? I've always felt like that like 13, 14 and 15 spots should be used for the young guys that are projects, like not to like obviously Luka's a first round pick, and at this point, like we're gonna see what he does like later
Yep.
this Wednesday for the Austin Spurs, right? I'm very excited to go watch a couple of those
Yeah,
games
it'll be a good one.
this month, to see like Trey, Luka, and a couple of our other young guys that are gonna be in the gubble, right? That's what they called it.
Yeah.
The
And
Gubble, what the heck?
yeah, the gubble, right? And so it'll be fun seeing them, seeing how they do there. But like to have like Luca, Trey Jones in those spots in those 14, 15, like we have Quindary, but Quindary's always on a two-way contract. So it's like eventually either he's gonna leave and find like a 14, 15 position, or he's just gonna develop and get up on our roster. But we have Trey Jones and Luca secured on our team,
Mm-hmm.
So it's so for those 14, 15, I've always liked those being our projects, the guys that we want to develop. Like Patty's not going to be on our team forever. And I love Derek and DJ, but I think like like let's just say something happens to one of them, right? In 3 years time, the contract that we gave Trey Jones, usually second round picks don't really get like the 3-year contract that Trey Jones got. We gave it to him because we want him to be, or in my eyes, that we want him to be that backup point guard of the future. It in my eyes, it kind of fits the timeline of just like, all right, now here we can fit in Trey Jones in his third or fourth year in the league at our backup point guard, and him take those keys right there.
Yeah, assuming that he progresses the way you want him to. Yeah,
Exactly.
and I agree with that. I think I'm just I'm more specifically talking about like I think that there's been specific times. Again, I'll point to like Laverne, a couple times with Eubanks, and then even like a guy like Chimezi Metu. We like in my opinion we held on to Chimezi too long. Like he sat at the bottom of our bench for too long, in my opinion. Like because I just feel like we could
But
go get better value. Like Chimezi didn't, in my opinion, Chimezi Metu never was a guy that you felt comfortable plugging in if you
Mhm.
needed a guy. And so in my opinion, if you have your roster, this is who you're going to battle with, and you look down your bench and you have to skip over somebody, they should be gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just me. And that might be a little harsh or whatever, because some people think that you need to develop them a little longer or whatever. But like, I understand the idea of like, you're not ready yet, but like, I don't know, like,
well,
those.
and that's why I sorry for cutting you off,
No,
but
you're good. You're good.
that's why like at first, and obviously Drew has definitely like kind of changed my mind on him for sure, but like at first there are those guys that I'm like, all right, this guy's already 26, 27 years old, undrafted, and we're putting him in the lineup when, or like in terms of just like maybe some garbage time minutes, right? And I'm like, all right, we're putting him in the lineup when I feel like we should probably put this younger guy, like we're you're talking about Met too. Well, I feel like there were multiple times last season and the year before where it's like, man, we're throwing in Drew Eubanks when we have a young 6'8" guy who can just run the court for a couple minutes at a
Yeah,
time.
but
Like,
but
why don't we just do that?
Chimezi wasn't ready. Chimezi wasn't
No,
ready.
yeah, for sure. And there's a clear reason why Drew Eubanks is on our roster and why Metu
Yeah,
isn't.
yeah,
But I'm just saying, um, like there's a couple of guys that like when we had well, I guess we played Dante Cunningham and Pondexter a couple times, but
yeah.
like where it's like those guys are on our 11, 12
Jamar
guy.
Carroll.
Yeah. Well, DeMar Carroll, I feel like I don't know. That was a weird case because I feel like
That was
we
really weird.
we
And and
paid
and,
him
and
and
maybe I'm thinking more of like the big men, right? Because that's kind of it. Like right now we have a plethora of guards, so it's okay to have a project on your roster for like Trey Jones for a couple seasons, because the likelihood of you needing him right now is small. But
right.
when your franchise is teetering on that line of, okay, we have LA. He's been our cornerstone big for the past like 5 or 6 years, but that he's aging. That the game is shifting a different direction, and your only reserves down on the bench are Luca and Chimezi and Drew, and you know what I mean. Like in my that's where I'm like, okay, that part of our roster needs bolstering, and can we do something to bolster it? Like that. That's just where my head was at. But anyways, I think that Drew's done his diligence in getting himself onto the court more. And he's, I think if as we start to switch our gears now into like what the Spurs are going to be doing this next week, I think we'll be able to see.